if you have not seen Spider-Man No Way Home, you can leave now. You can get off the pod. We'll be back tomorrow.
Leave now.
You should, and go safely see Spider-Man No Way Home in the theater that adheres to all protocols, and be safe about it, whatever you're comfortable with. Having said that, John and Jeremy have been hinting at talking about this movie, and people in watch party chats and other places have wanted to hear their thoughts. I did a whole podcast, so I'm out on Spidey thoughts, but I now, since I missed last week, want to talk to you guys about this movie. So spoilers and all, what did you guys think of Spider-Man No Way Home?
I'll just say very briefly that I loved it. I adored it. I think it clearly goes into the, I don't know about the upper echelon of MCU movies, because that's the upper echelon. What's that? It's high praise. The upper echelon are the movies that like I put on while I'm writing and I need something in the background, like at 1 a.m. I'll put Infinity War on like every fifth week or something. And
can I challenge you to name what you'd put above it right now?
So for me, Infinity War and Endgame kind of occupy their own.
So that's 1 and 2,
and then Winter Soldier. Those are the only 3 that I have clearly.
Okay.
But this to me falls into the next group. I loved it that much. Jeremy?
I thought it was phenomenal. Like, I was expecting it to be great because I saw it on Monday, and so people had ample time to see it. And fortunately, I avoided any and all spoilers.
I was going to say, you said on the pod that you were avoiding spoilers. Did you successfully avoid spoilers?
I did. Nothing.
Until you saw it. Good.
Fortunately, there are people who would say spoiler alert, or the moment I would see something like Peter Parker, I would just quickly flip up or scroll and not have to see it, which is great. But no, I just, I figured as much that they would be bringing Toby and Andrew together, and that was really fun. I will say, from a personal note, Aunt May's, we're past the spoiler point.
Yeah,
so
say it.
Demise. Aunt May's death was obviously very impactful, but it was the sort of thing where, personally, in the past month of trying to still emotionally kind of heal from my own grandfather's passing, and I was in a very similar situation where he was right in her position, although not killed in that sense. But there and kind of holding his hand and trying to just collect myself. And so it hit me harder than I thought I was playing for it. But I'm so happy that the scene that followed it was introducing Andrew and Toby, because it was brilliant how they were able to do that. Just one of the soul crushing moments to like, hey, here's something to just be absolutely joyful about. And then kind of them working together. I thought it seemed improv at least, but the banter that they had on top of the Statue of Liberty, it just it brought so much happiness from seeing them all kind of uniting. And I'm with you in that I don't think it's quite in my top tier. I think that's probably Endgame and Infinity War and maybe Ragnarok, and then
a lot of
probably Winter Soldier.
A lot of people have Ragnarok there.
Yeah. But it's right there. It's the best Marvel I saw this year, with Shang-Chi and WandaVision below that. And Hawkeye, it's closer. I loved the post credits of Hawkeye. I thought that was
even better on rewatch.
Yeah, exactly.
Hawkeye's very good.
John, say what you did this week. Well, I don't know if that'll get you in trouble, but
no,
John,
listen,
go ahead, say it.
No, listen, by Thursday. For everybody who doesn't know, I still do have a day job working at a school, and more than half the staff had called out sick the last couple of days before Christmas break. I did not, of course. And the student population had dwindled to I don't even know what. It was to the point where they were combining whole grades in classrooms. And they were just assigning teachers to different classrooms. So it's not like you were expected. You could not teach a class because it was not your class. It was not your students. It was just you were put into a room with kids. There's no misconceptions about what was going to be happening. This was movie day. This is the last day before Christmas break. Let's watch something. So I asked the kids what they want to do, and we watched all 6 episodes of Hawkeye, which for me was a rewatch, and it was even better the second time.
John's the cool teacher, Jeremy.
Oh, I know.
Very much just a cool teacher.
real quick, two other thoughts on No Way Home. One, shout out to I should know who wrote it, but it was a piece on The Ringer this week that I forwarded to our group text.
Joanna Robinson wrote it.
Thank you. About appreciating Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man / Peter Parker. I've been dying on this hill for many a year. How much I loved him in that role, and I'm happy that it's getting some appreciation. And I do agree with her that you could argue that he was the best part of the movie. And then the second thing I'll say, and this is to something also that we were discussing offline. It was I think it was a Hollywood Reporter article, which basically got, who's the Sony chief?
Amy Pascal.
Thank you. Amy Pascal was on record. Kevin Feige was on record. I got him escaping me. Who's the lead of the movie?
Tom Holland.
Thank you.
Yes.
Tom Holland was on record. They had someone else. And basically it was a long form pitch to get this thing nominated for Best Picture. And I thought some of the points made within the piece, which is like, it's like people think that these movies are easy to make. These movies are fucking hard to make good. And when you're tying together 8 movies that came before, it's just, and to do it this well and to have the emotional payoffs and the whole thing, like, yes, reward the film that deserves to be rewarded. And oh, by the way, it'll save your fucking broadcast that nobody wants to watch anymore. So, again, not that that's why they should do it, but nice side perk.
But at least Marvel takes risks. Movies, I feel like film studios, they just look at it as crunching numbers and they try to say, oh, well, a remake we know can make us more money because we know that people resonate with that and they love it, and they just play it safe. And with this, I was thinking, because I was talking with my parents about it, and they are not into Marvel, but I was saying how much I loved the movie, and they were saying, oh, well, do we have to see all the others to appreciate it? And I was thinking about it. It's like, well, you don't need to know all of the others, but there's so much that you need to know, because you need to go back to the first 2 of Spider-Man, and it'd be helpful to see the other Spider-Man movies. And then you need to know what the blip is, which brings you to Infinity War and Endgame. But then how do you get to there? You got to watch some of the other, it just all ties in together, which I think is brilliant. It's also really difficult if you're getting into it and care a little bit about it and don't just want to see a movie one-off. But as you're saying, how they tied everything into it, there's some magic involved with that.
And it's funny hearing you say that, and then we get into this, is I think if it doesn't get nominated, and I actually think it has, I think Bernard, before the article came out, he put it at 10%. I would imagine he would probably up that now. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to ask him.
The thing about Best Picture this year is, like, because nothing made money, like in the past, it'd be like, okay, well, West Side Story did well and Dune did good relatively, but not to the point where you could say it's a surefire Best Picture nomination. Although I think at this point it might be. There are other things that would have done well at the box office that you could say, well, then the superhero stuff you can't even count. Spider-Man, like, within 1 hour of opening, might do the rest of the Best Picture nominees. So it almost isn't even that it should, whether or not it's merited to get Best Picture. It might have to, just so people will watch this broadcast, so that way they have seen a movie that was nominated this year.
Don't tell that to Robert De Niro.
No, Scorsese's the one.
Scorsese's the one. Yeah, Scorsese's the one. Yeah.
Right, no, but Scorsese.
So I think, and this ties together with the point I was about to make, which is like, hearing you talk about, like, do you need to see these other movies? That part of it reinforces the notion that to some people, this is less a movie and more of a giant marketing scheme to get your money. And it's a really, 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 really well done marketing scheme. But like, like it all ties together. And like the people, and let's say your folks go see it and they're like, oh, I actually would like to now go see these other films. And like, let's get the old Disney Plus fired up. You mentioned Dune. And the last thing I want to say, if that fucking movie gets nominated, which is the most beautiful thing you'll ever see, and has, and there's been more character development on this podcast than there was in that film. if that gets nominated, then why the hell can't No Way Home?
I agree.
Nominated? Come on.
I agree. I would, especially now that the Oscars changed the rules and now there has to be 10. There's no longer like the preferential ballot is still how they vote, but now that they're making sure 10 get in, like what's the point in nominating them? Like Oz has been talking about this movie called Come On, Come On with Joaquin Phoenix. I'm sure from a quality level, I would get more out of if I watched it. But I'm to Jeremy's point, like that moment hits you when with Aunt May. Yash wrote an article on the Invention of Dreams, introducing a completely different perspective on No Way Home from a public defender's position and from his vantage point that completely has made this movie go up a level. And to also plug Invention of Dreams for my co-host Oz, his piece on this movie added another level where it's like all the Spider-Man movies are now canon in the MCU. We now know the ending of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man because of the line that's in this movie, not the god-awful Spider-Man 3. We now know how Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is dealing with the grief of what happened with Gwen Stacy, not because of the mixed in reaction specifically to two people on this podcast, Amazing Spider-Man 2. That is
nobody likes that movie except me,
except John Macri. That's no longer the conclusion to that story arc. It's now him saving MJ in No Way Home and how he processed it. The ambition of what Marvel set out to do with this should have gone completely wrong, and they hit a home run. And if that isn't worthy of being nominated with the other great things that came out this year, then maybe we'll just put the Oscars on Twitter, and that's the only way people will pay attention to them.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, it's at the end of the day, this is a fake award. I mean, it's an award show. Whatever, you know.
We're applying value to things that don't necessarily matter, you know.
Yeah. Let's maybe have some fun with it. All right, that's all I want to say. Good talk, guys. I like this.
Yeah.